The universe does not care about you, and that sentence alone makes many people uncomfortable. We want to believe that the cosmos is watching us, judging us, rooting for us, or at the very least, noticing us. But the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us, to protect us, or to validate our importance. It existed for nearly 14 billion years before we arrived, and it will continue long after we are gone, without pausing, without remembering our names, without keeping score. And yet, strangely, this is not a depressing truth. It may be the most free idea science has ever offered at when you first confront the true scale of the universe. Something quietly dramatic happens to your sense of self. It's not an emotional shock so much as an intellectual recalibration. We live our daily lives measuring importance in human-sized units, years, cities, nations, achievements. But the universe operates on scales so vast that our familiar reference points simply dissolve. Earth is not a large object. It is a thin film of chemistry clinging to a rocky sphere, orbiting an ordinary star. That star is one of hundreds of billions in a galaxy so large that light, moving at its ultimate speed limit, needs over 100,000 years just to cross it. And that galaxy is only one among trillions scattered through an expanding cosmos. When you absorb these numbers, not memorize them, but truly absorb them, you realize that the universe is not built around us. We are built within it. This realization doesn't arrive as an insult. It arrives as a fact. The universe doesn't pause to acknowledge our presence because it never needed to. Long before life emerged on this planet, stars were born, lived, and died, forging the very elements that now circulate through our bodies. Every carbon atom in your cells was once manufactured in the core of an ancient star that exploded long before Earth existed. Your body is a temporary arrangement of cosmic debris assembled by physics and chemistry with no awareness of its future thoughts or ambitions. That alone should inspire awe. You are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it, briefly organized in a way that allows self-reflection. Scale has a way of correcting our intuitions. When we say something matters, we often mean it matters to us, or to our culture, or to our moment in history. But the universe keeps a different ledger. It tracks mass, energy, time, and entropy. In that accounting system, entire civilizations can rise and fall without leaving a measurable trace. Dinosaurs ruled this planet for over 100 million years, a duration so long it makes human history look like a typographical error, and yet they left no technology, no science, no record of self-awareness. They were erased by an asteroid that did not aim, did not judge, did not care. It simply followed the laws of motion. The same laws that allow planets to form also allow them to be struck and sterilized. Nature is efficient, not sentimental. Once you understand this, a subtle but important shift occurs. You stop expecting fairness from the cosmos. Earthquakes are not punishments. Diseases are not messages. Hurricanes are not expressions of anger. They are the inevitable outcomes of physical processes unfolding in a dynamic planet. The universe does not single out individuals or a species for reward or suffering. It applies its laws universally, with no exceptions for hope, belief, or effort. Gravity pulls equally on the virtuous and the cruel. Radiation damages cells without checking intentions. Entropy steadily increases whether or not anyone finds that inconvenient. This is not cruelty, it is consistency. What often unsettles people is the realization that nothing in nature is designed with human comfort as a priority. The atmosphere that sustains us can also suffocate us. The sun that powers life will eventually expand and destroy the inner planets. The same chemical reactions that allow metabolism also allow cancer. Nature is indifferent because indifference is what laws look like when they are not guided by intent. And yet, this very indifference is what makes science possible. If the universe behaved differently depending on who observed it, there would be no experiments, no predictions, no understanding. Reliability, not compassion, is the foundation of reality. For much of human history, we assumed we were central. Not metaphorically central, but literally so. The Earth was placed at the center of the cosmos, with everything else arranged around it for our benefit. When observations contradicted that picture, the universe didn't change. To protect our feelings, we changed our models to better match reality. The Earth became a planet. The Sun became an average star. Our galaxy became one of many. Each step removed us from the center, and each step improved our understanding. Science does not progress by inflating human importance. It progresses by confronting uncomfortable truths and asking better questions. And here is where a paradox emerges. The more we learn about how unimportant we are cosmically, the more remarkable our existence becomes. Not because the universe values us, but because we exist at all. In a cosmos dominated by empty space, dark matter, and radiation, life appears to be rare. Intelligent life even more so. Consciousness is not a guaranteed outcome of physics. It is a fragile, emergent property that arises only under very specific conditions. For billions of years, Earth was lifeless, rock, and ocean. For billions more, life existed without thought, awareness, or curiosity. Only recently, cosmically speaking, did matter begin to wonder about itself. This is where scale stops being merely humbling and starts being illuminating. You are not important because the universe revolves around you. You are important because the universe does not. Your thoughts, values, and relationships exist in a reality that offers no inherent meaning beyond physical law. Meaning is not discovered in the stars, it is constructed in minds. And that construction is not diminished by cosmic indifference. It is sharpened by it. When you realize there is no built-in purpose waiting to be found, you understand that purpose is something you create, negotiate, and share with others. Nature's refusal to play favorites forces a kind of intellectual honesty. It tells us that survival is not guaranteed, that progress is not inevitable, and that intelligence does not come with immunity. Entire species have vanished before us, and there is nothing in physics that says we cannot join them. This realization is not meant to inspire despair. It is meant to inspire responsibility. If the universe does not care whether we survive, then our survival depends entirely on our understanding of the laws that govern reality and our willingness to cooperate within them. In that sense, recognizing our smallness is not a loss of dignity. It is a correction of perspective. When you stop expecting the universe to validate you, you become free to validate each other. When you stop imagining yourself as the goal of creation, you can appreciate creation as a process rather than a performance. The universe doesn't care about your existence, but it made your existence possible. And within that narrow window of time where you are alive, aware, and capable of understanding even a fraction of the cosmos, you have the rare opportunity to decide what matters not to the universe, but to you, to your species, and to the brief moment you occupy in cosmic history. Once you accept that the universe does not assign meaning, a common reaction is discomfort. People often assume that if meaning is not embedded in the fabric of reality, then life must be empty or pointless. But this assumption confuses absence with opportunity. The universe provides no instruction manual for how to live, no cosmic scoreboard tracking your successes or failures. And that silence is not a void, it is an open canvas. Meaning is not something you uncover like a hidden fossil buried in space-time. It is something you assemble, piece by piece, through experience, values, and choice. The atoms that make up your body do not care how they are arranged, but the moment they form a conscious mind, questions emerge. Those questions are not answered by stars or galaxies. They are answered by how we treat one another, what we choose to understand, and how honestly we confront reality. This idea becomes clearer when you consider how temporary everything is. Stars burn their fuel and fade, galaxies collide and reshape themselves. Even protons, once thought eternal, may eventually decay. Permanence is not the default condition of the universe, changes. In that context, the human desire for eternal meaning begins to look like a misunderstanding of how reality works. Expecting permanence from a universe defined by impermanence is like expecting a wave to freeze in place. The wave exists. It has shape and influence, but its identity is inseparable from motion. Human life is similar. Its value does not come from lasting forever. It comes from existing at all, briefly, against overwhelming odds. When people search for cosmic validation, they often imagine that significance must be proportional to size or duration. But physics teaches us that impact does not scale that way. A single supernova can outshine an entire galaxy for a short time. A small genetic mutation can alter the course of life on a planet. Likewise, a single idea can reshape a civilization. The universe may not care about your thoughts, but your thoughts can profoundly affect other conscious beings. Meaning does not need the universe's approval to be real. It only needs minds capable of experiencing it. In a cosmos largely devoid of awareness, that alone makes consciousness extraordinary. Understanding this reshapes how we think about purpose. Purpose is not imposed from above, it emerges from within. It is negotiated between individuals, cultures, and generations. And because it is constructed rather than discovered, it can evolve. Societies abandon old values, adopt new ones, refine their moral frameworks. Science itself is a testament to this process. There is no cosmic mandate that we understand the universe, yet we choose to do so. Curiosity is not required by physics, but it arises naturally in conscious systems capable of pattern recognition. We ask questions not because the universe demands it, but because our minds are wired to seek coherence in chaos. This brings us to an often misunderstood point: indifference does not mean hostility. The universe is not conspiring against you. It is not testing you. It is not issuing challenges designed to build character. It simply unfolds according to rules that apply everywhere, all the time. When a star goes supernova, it does not destroy future life out of malice. It creates the heavy elements that make future life possible. The same event that sterilizes one region of space enriches another. Nature is not cruel or kind, it is efficient, and that efficiency, while emotionally unsatisfying, is intellectually liberating. Once you stop interpreting natural events as messages, you gain clarity. You realize that responsibility lies not with the universe, but with us. If there's suffering, it is not because the cosmos intended it, but because physical systems interacted in certain ways. And if suffering can be reduced, it will not be through prayer to the stars, but through understanding, prediction, and action. Earthquakes cannot be prevented, but their impact can be mitigated. Diseases are not punishments, but biological processes that can be studied and treated. Climate is not a moral force, but a physical system that responds to energy balance. In every case, knowledge replaces superstition, and agency replaces helplessness. This perspective also dissolves the idea that humans occupy a privileged position in the universe. Privilege implies intention. The universe did not single us out. We emerged because conditions allowed it. And those conditions are not guaranteed to persist. This realization can be unsettling, but it carries a quiet warning. If our existence is not protected by cosmic design, then our future depends on our understanding of the forces that threaten us. Asteroids, climate shifts, pandemics, and our own technologies pose risks, not because the universe is hostile, but because it is indifferent. Survival, therefore, becomes a scientific problem, not a philosophical promise. And yet, within this indifference lies something remarkable. The universe may not care about intelligence, but intelligence can care about the universe. We can study it, map it, model it, and tell its story. We can reconstruct the history of stars that died billions of years ago and predict the fate of galaxies trillions of years into the future. In doing so, we extend our influence beyond the limits of our bodies. Our thoughts can traverse time and space in ways our physical forms never will. That capacity does not come from cosmic favoritism. It comes from evolution shaping brains capable of abstraction. Meaning, then, is not diminished by cosmic indifference. It is intensified. When you know there is no external guarantee of significance, every act of kindness becomes more deliberate, and every pursuit of knowledge becomes a choice rather than an obligation. Every attempt to understand the universe becomes a celebration of the fact that in a reality that does not care whether minds exist, minds nonetheless arose. And those minds can choose to care, to wonder, and to build meaning where none was provided. At some point, the conversation must turn to consciousness, because this is where the story of the universe takes an unexpected turn. For most of its history, the universe was dark, simple, and unaware. Hydrogen condensed into stars, stars fused elements, galaxies assembled, and physics played out without observation. Then, on at least one small planet, chemistry crossed a threshold. Molecules began to replicate, structures became self-sustaining. And over immense spans of time, matter learned how to think. Consciousness is not written into the equations of gravity or electromagnetism. It is an emergent phenomenon, a byproduct of complexity layered upon complexity. The universe did not aim for awareness, yet awareness appeared. That alone is extraordinary. When you recognize this, the question of importance takes on a new shape. The universe may not care about consciousness, but consciousness is the only way the universe can be known. Without minds, the cosmos would still exist, but it would be unexamined, unmeasured, and uninterpreted. Stars would burn, galaxies would collide, and time would pass in silence. Conscious beings do not add mass or energy to the universe, but they add perspective. They allow reality to be reflected upon itself. In that sense, consciousness is not cosmically central, but it is cosmically rare, and rarity carries its own kind of significance. This rarity also reveals how fragile awareness is. Consciousness is not guaranteed to persist once it emerges. It depends on stable environments, energy flow, and biological continuity. A slight change in planetary conditions can erase millions of years of evolutionary progress. A single asteroid can reset the biological clock. The universe does not preserve intelligence as a value. It preserves only what survives under physical law. If intelligent life disappears, the universe does not mourn. It simply continues. That realization reframes intelligence, not as an entitlement, but as a responsibility. From this perspective, knowledge becomes more than curiosity, it becomes survival strategy. Understanding the universe is not about satisfying wonder alone. It is about learning the rules of the game we are already playing. When we study stellar evolution, we learn where elements come from. When we study planetary science, we learn what makes worlds stable or hostile. When we study climate biology and energy systems, we learn how delicate the conditions for life truly are. Science is not an abstract pursuit detached from human concerns. It is the tool that allows a self-aware species to navigate an indifferent universe. This brings us to humility, a concept often misunderstood. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking accurately about yourself. When science reveals that humans are not the center of creation, it does not diminish us, it corrects us. Arrogance thrives on false assumptions of importance, so humility thrives on evidence. A species that understands its smallness is more likely to cooperate, to plan long-term, and to recognize shared vulnerability. In a universe that offers no protection guarantees, humility may be the most intelligent posture we can adopt. Humility also reshapes how we see conflict. From a cosmic perspective, the differences that divide humans, nation, religion, ideology are microscopic. They are surface-level variations on a single species confined to a single planet. The universe does not recognize borders. It does not distinguish languages or beliefs. It only recognizes physical systems interacting. When we fight over abstractions while sharing the same fragile biosphere, we reveal how disconnected our instincts are from reality. The universe does not threaten us with extinction out of malice. We do that ourselves through misunderstanding and short-term thinking. This is where the conversation turns from what the universe is to what we choose to be. If meaning is not assigned by cosmic decree, then ethics are not enforced by the stars. They emerge from our awareness of consequences. We care about justice not because the universe demands it, but because conscious beings experience suffering. We care about truth not because reality rewards honesty, but because understanding reduces error. Morality, like meaning, is a human construction, but that does not make it arbitrary. It makes it responsive. It evolves as our understanding deepens. In an indifferent universe, caring becomes an active choice. Empathy is not written into the laws of physics, yet it emerges in social species because cooperation enhances survival. Compassion is not guaranteed by cosmology, yet it arises because minds recognize themselves in others. These traits are not cosmic mandates, they are evolutionary solutions, and once recognized, they can be consciously strengthened. The universe may not care whether we act with wisdom, but our future depends on it. When you step back far enough, you see the full irony of our situation. We are insignificant in size, brief in duration, and accidental in origin, yet capable of understanding all of that. We can calculate the age of the universe, trace our atomic ancestry to stars, and predict futures we may never personally see. We can feel awe at things that we'll never know we existed. That combination of insignificance and awareness is not tragic, it is poetic. It means that even if the universe does not care about us, it has, through us, become something that can care at all. When you realize that caring is not a feature of the universe, but a feature of minds, responsibility takes on a sharper edge. Caring does not come free. It requires energy, attention, and intention. In a cosmos that offers no guidance about what should matter, the act of choosing what matters becomes a defining characteristic of intelligence. This choice is not trivial. Every value we hold competes with limited time and limited resources. When we decide to care about truth, we invest in methods that reduce error. When we decide to care about well-being, we invest in systems that reduce suffering. None of these priorities are written into the background radiation of the universe. They are negotiated outcomes of conscious life learning how to persist within constraints. This is why future of a thinking species cannot be separated from its understanding of reality. Ignorance is not punished by the universe in moral terms. It is punished through consequence. Build cities on fault lines without preparation, and earthquakes will remind you of plate tectonics. Alter the chemistry of the atmosphere, and climate will respond to the physics of heat and gases. The universe does not warn, it responds. Knowledge, therefore, is not an ornament of civilization. It is a survival mechanism. A species that confuses belief with evidence will not be corrected by compassion from nature. It will be corrected by outcomes. Seen this way, the pursuit of science becomes a deeply human act, not because science flatters us, but because it protects us from ourselves. It forces us to test ideas against reality rather than against desire. It replaces comforting narratives with accurate ones. And accuracy, while sometimes uncomfortable, is the only reliable foundation for long-term survival. The universe does not care if we misunderstand it, but misunderstanding it carries a cost. Every advance in science is a reduction in vulnerability, a narrowing of the gap between how we wish reality worked and how it actually does. As our understanding grows, so does our power. And power introduces a new layer of responsibility. Technologies amplify intention. They can extend life, reduce suffering, and expand knowledge, or they can accelerate harm. The universe remains neutral about which path we choose. Nuclear reactions can light cities or destroy them. Artificial intelligence can magnify human creativity or human error. Biotechnology can heal or destabilize ecosystems. The laws of physics make all of these possible, but they do not choose among them. Choice belongs entirely to us. This is where foresight becomes a moral obligation. To foresee consequences is to acknowledge causality. To ignore foreseeable outcomes is not ignorance, it is negligence. A universe that does not care whether intelligence survives places the burden of continuity squarely on intelligent beings. Long-term thinking is not a luxury reserved for philosophers. It is a practical requirement for any species that has gained the ability to alter its environment on a planetary scale. When actions ripple forward through time, ethics must extend forward as well. The cosmic perspective offers a useful calibration here. From far enough away, the distinctions that dominate our politics and identities fade into irrelevance. What remains are shared dependencies: air, water, energy, and stability. These are not ideological constructs, they are physical requirements. No belief system can negotiate with thermodynamics. No social boundary can block atmospheric circulation. The universe treats the planet as a single system, and eventually we are forced to do the same. Cooperation is not a moral slogan. It is a physical necessity disguised as an ethical insight. There is also a quiet optimism embedded in this view, though it is often overlooked. The universe may not care about our fate, but it has given us the tools to care effectively. We can measure, model, predict, and adapt. We can learn from past extinctions and near misses. We can look outward to understand stellar hazards and inward to understand biological fragility. We can even imagine futures that have never existed before. Possibility is not guaranteed success, but it is an invitation to try. At the same time, the cosmic timeline reminds us that urgency matters. Civilizations do not get infinite chances. The window during which a technological species can stabilize itself before overwhelming its own support systems may be narrow. The universe will not extend deadlines. It will not pause entropy while we debate. Time flows whether or not decisions are made, and delay is itself a decision with consequences. Recognizing this is not alarmism, it is temporal literacy. In an indifferent universe, hope is not something you wait for. It is something you build. It is constructed from evidence-based decisions, from institutions that reward understanding, and from cultures that value long-term outcomes over short-term comfort. Hope does not require the universe to care about us. It requires us to care enough to align our actions with reality. When expectations match physics, progress becomes possible. Ultimately, the most profound shift that comes from accepting cosmic indifference is a change in where we locate significance. It is no longer projected upward into the heavens. It is directed outward toward one another and forward through time. Meaning is found not in being noticed by the universe, but in noticing the universe and choosing how to respond to what we learn. In that response in curiosity, restraint, cooperation, and care lies the quiet defiance of a species that knows it is small, knows it is temporary, and chooses to act wisely anyway. When you put all of this together, a clear picture emerges. The universe is vast, ancient, and indifferent to our existence, yet within it arose minds capable of understanding that very indifference. That is not a contradiction, it is the story. We are not significant because the cosmos revolves around us, but because we are able to reflect on a reality that does not owe us meaning. In a universe governed by laws rather than intentions, understanding becomes our compass, humility becomes our strength, and responsibility becomes unavoidable. We are small, but we are aware. We are temporary, but we can think beyond our own lifetimes. And while the universe does not care whether we succeed or fail, it has given us enough knowledge to choose wisely, to reduce suffering, and to decide what kind of story our brief moment in cosmic history will tell. Thank you for taking the time to watch, to think, and to explore these ideas. Your curiosity is what keeps conversations like this alive, and your willingness to reflect deeply is what gives them meaning. Thank you for being here.